Shit, I forgot to grab water. So, Elden Ring lore. Let's. Oh wait, I forgot my notes. Shoot.
Probably need those.
Yeah, probably.
I have
Oh, here it is. Okay.
food for depression, I guess.
So real for that. Okay. I've got my notes up. Now I'm ready to start. Okay. I pressed the wrong button. Crap. Okay. So basically, there was the one great. This is how everything starts. It's literally everything, and it's also apparently weak as shit. Because something makes it... Oh my gosh, my stream is Not my stream, my thing is breaking. Oh my gosh. Okay. Because something broke it. This was supposed to be a GIF. Anyway. Hello? Oh my gosh. Okay. It's split into the greater... Hello? Please? Okay. It's split into the greater will and outer gods. The outer gods consist of these 5, and I'm going to go into depth about them. The form... Not this guy. Okay. So, the Formless Mother is also known as the Mother of Truth. She craves wounds, apparently. I don't know why. I don't judge. Who knows, maybe she likes it. I don't know, but her whole deal is blood. In fact, she gave a guy napalm for blood, set it on fire or something. She's gonna... Ignore the little bottom part. I never actually go in depth about it because there's, like, nothing about the Blood Fiends. And they play, like, no role at all in the story, so I'm just going to ignore them. Am I going backwards with this? Hang on. Okay. Okay. Can I please? Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on with this. The presentation is breaking. I put too much. Okay. So then there's the God of Rot. I'm not sure if that's his actual name. I don't know. The wiki said it was, so... Whatever. His whole thing, his entire presence in the game is just, Scarlet Rot, essentially. It's a damage over time debuff. And it's really annoying to deal with. He's also kind of associated with ants and scorpions and the kindred of Rot. Now, I bet you're wondering, or not, what are the kindred of Rot? Well, they're these things. Now, I'm gonna say, these things may look somewhat unassuming. Sure, maybe it's a little dangerous with a big spear glaive thing. Got a lot of hands for no reason. Well, I assure you, this is the face of the thing that will take your wife and fuck your crops. Because they have access to the intercontinental ballistic cum shot. Yes, each one of those strings has a hitbox, and they home in on you. And yes, I am being entirely accurate with this, because you have access to them as spells, as incantations. And this is the description. Secretes countless sticky threads, launching them forwards. And the buffed one that they added in the DLC, you can charge it. What is that if not edging? This is the buffed version that the DLC added. I hate them. They are the bane of my existence. And also it got sealed away underground by a blind guy. Anyway. Then there's the Outer God of Death. There is nothing about them. The only things that even remotely talk about this guy are a shield. A singular shield. And it's entirely out of the way. No one knows anything about it, and honestly, I don't really care about it. So, next we go on to the Fell God of Fire. His whole deal is fire. He partnered up with the Fire Giants. He gave them access to his flame, but they also have to tend to said undying flame for eternity. His face is used as Furnace Golem's whole face thing. I'll talk about the Furnace Golems later, and have some relation to the Horn Scent. Ignore the second part, I never talk about that. Then there's the Frenzied Flame. It's a little confusing here because it could be the god itself or an extension because the lore about it is kind of vague. All we really know is that it resides in, like, the eyeballs of its victims, and is mostly associated with the Anarchy ending. Everything kind of melts together and becomes, in a sense, the One Great again. That was its intent, or at least its stated intent. And if you don't think that sounds very bad, or at least it does sound bad, but it could probably be negated, this is what it looks like. That whole, I'm not even sure how to describe that. That used to be a tree. That was a tree. Now we move on to the celestial bodies. Now, apparently, there are sentient celestial bodies! Hooray! First up, we have the Greater Will. I mentioned that before, but it's not explicitly stated to be an outer god, so I just chucked it in here and said to hell with it. It's basically the One Great's micromanaging child. It created the Elden Ring, which is the laws of the universe made manifest. Which, the Elden Ring goes into people and it makes them gods. The people who smash those gods become the Elden Lord. There were two of them in history. One of which is Marika, and the other of which is an unnamed god that no one really knows about. The Greater Will, communicates through the fingers. Unfortunately, their mother was flawed or something, and now they don't fully understand the Greater Will's messages. So, everyone's kind of just left wondering, what the hell's going on here? What are they even saying? I just saw it flip me. I just saw it flip me off. What is that supposed to mean? And then there are the moons. There's technically 4, but they're only really stated as being 3. There's the full moon, the dark moon, and the twin moons. They're most associated with lunar magic, and apparently they're sentient. I don't know why you would fear a moon if it wasn't sentient. You know? I don't know. And then we have the primeval current. It's most associated with, like, really, really old magic. There's, like, nothing about it because it's only, like, 3 spells that even talk about it. You can't really study it or anything because it kind of crystallizes your body, which is really annoying. And then we have the Bloodstar. It's probably not the Formless Mother. I don't know. I mean, the spells that it's associated with are, like, not Formless Mother spells, so, yeah. Essentially what happened was the guilty were blinded with, like, essentially barbed wire. And so that led them to seeing the star, which is essentially why it's connected with thorns, which gives us the Kinky Whip, as seen here. Now, we move on finally to actual history. Let's go. Congratulations, we made it. Now, something I need to talk about. The Greater Will's really young. And it is immensely stupid. It is so dumb. It's just, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just immensely, it just doesn't make any sense. Because the Primordial Crucible is essentially a state in which all life kind of exists as one. Oh my gosh, is this lagging this much on the stream? I hope not, because this is horrendous. So, like, everything is, like, kind of melded together, kind of like the One Great, but also not. So it's like scales, horns, feathers, what have you, all kind of melted together into people and monsters and whatever. And you actually see its effects during the events of the game through the Misbegotten. Now, these are people who were cursed for making contact with the Primordial Crucible in a past life, or as they were being reborn or something. I don't know, rebirth is apparently a thing. So, before anyone asks, no, you cannot get freaky with the Crucible, you will get permanent STDs. Now, we also need to talk about the Hornsent now, finally. They worship this Crucible of primordial goo-ness. I don't know why. They don't technically live in the Lands Between, which is where the game is set and most of the events occur. They, live in the Land of Shadow. And in their society... Crap. Sorry, I threw something. In their society, the more horns you have, the more, like, holy or whatever you have. You are, rather. They end up being both genociding people and are then genocided, which is a little... It's kind of ironic in my opinion. I'm not saying it's good, but it still happened. Around the same time as the Primordial Crucible, the Ancestor Spirits kind of just do their own thing, fucking around with life and death, kind of gaining power from that. The Great Tree starts growing, which isn't the Erd Tree. This thing, on the left rather, not the right. And this is also the Age of Dragons. These are dragons in the Elden Ring world, in the Elden Ring universe. And this is their king! He was supposed to have 5 heads. I'll explain why he doesn't, in a second. But essentially, that was Placidusax. He was, the first Elden Lord, technically. He built a large, immense, just gigantic temple or city thing for the dragons and his, god. And he employs recently, I guess, enlightened wolf things to kind of, like, build it and, like, tend to it, and everything's perfectly fine. I mean, there's nothing, like, lore-wise that, insinuates that there's very much conflict until shit hits the fan. A meteor hits the Farum Azula, which is their town temple thing. Placidusax's god leaves him, and then Baal the Dread rips 3 of his heads off and dips out. Now I bet you're wondering, who the fuck is Baal the Dread? This guy! He's the father of the Drakes! He was born without stone scales, so he was essentially made mortal. He does not access the red lightning that dragons do, which they fight with. Instead, he gets flame lightning, which is essentially a buffed version. He doesn't care. He's just pissy all the time. And so he gets... I don't know, he's mad. He attacks Placidusax, rips off 3 of his heads, and then dips out, again, as I said. So now he's the enemy of the dragons. What? Sorry.
I can't help but notice you spelled Baal differently on both of the slides.
I did? Oh shit, I did! Oh no, wait! Oh no, I did. My bad. I have no idea. Oh no. Okay, so now, the difference between dragons and drakes is that they also don't have stone scales, so they're kind of just sitting there like, oh no, don't hit me with lightning. Because they're weak. Ironically, this entire, like, debacle with Baal doesn't actually end the Primordial Crucible's kind of, like, Age of the Dragons. In a sense, the Primordial Crucible age time period thing never ends. It's kind of always present, it just changes. But you want to know what did end the Age of the Dragons, the rule of the dragons? We come now to the Age of the Giants. That's right, this fucker. Or rather, these fuckers. Basically what they... before I get into the Age of the Giants and everything said, or the source I used, the wiki, said that this is when the Greater Will sends the Elden Ring down. That kind of conflicts with Placidusax doing all the stuff with his god. So I'm just going to explain the ring here instead, because... I don't know. No linearity. No, I don't care. So, again, as I stated, it's literally the laws of the universe. It's comprised of multiple runes, only 3 of which actually get named. Or no, 4... Yeah, 3 of which. the Rune of the Unborn, which is what you get from Renola, who I will talk about later, and the Anchor Runes. Now, there might be 3, one of which is openly stated to be the Anchor Rune, another is stated to be an Anchor Rune, and then there's another one who is stated to be similar to an Anchor Rune, the second one, but isn't outright stated, so I'm just gonna lump them in together. There was an additional Rune of Death, governed, like, all of that stuff, all that good stuff. I will explain what happened and why I said was in a second. But basically, going back to the dragons, they kind of kicked the ice drakes out of their whole mountain domain thing, and that pissed off the Zamor. I'm not sure if it was actually that or the fact that the giants were now in the mountains. Needless to say, the Zamor were pissed. So, around this time, the Nox unfortunately get sealed underground in their cities. Now, not much is really outright stated, most of which can be, like, interpreted from what we see in the game. They are a matriarchal society. Their whole deal is night, which is why they're called the Nox, I guess. And they're really skilled, what's it called? Alchemists. Because they make, essentially, blobs of quicksilver, some of which can turn into humans. Or, at one point, a giant troll. I don't know. It's magic! Science stuff. Well, that doesn't end. Unfortunately, it gets worse for the Nox, because then they get attacked by Estelles. These little things. I don't even know what to call them. I don't know. Well, this little anal... okay. So this kind of mutated anal bead thing attacked the cities, stole one of them, managed to steal the artificial night sky of one of the cities. And they're most likely the little shits that hit the Farum Azula, because they get magic gravity stuff that they can fuck around with. I don't know. And now I get to talk about the DLC! Hooray! Okay, so, basically, here's a bit of context for some later stuff. America was born in the Land of Shadow. I've referenced her before. Her people are referred to as both Newman and Shamans. It really depends on, like, where at in the game you are. In the DLC, they're referred to Shamans, and in the main game, they're referred to as Newman. I don't know why they did that, but basically, that pisses off the Horn Scent for some reason. They see that they don't have horns, and they decide to make them saints. What they do is, they kidnap a bunch, maybe kill off a couple in their village. Who cares? No one's really doesn't really matter to them. They take them to a little village where they brutally whip and beat them until they liquefy together and fit into jars. That's right. If you haven't seen the DLC and you like Alexander, he's a bunch of people melted together. I hope you like that. Imagine that image in your head. Anyway, Marika's mad about this. She manages to survive, escape, so she does some ritual to the finger lady that I talked about earlier in order to, or something to be able to reach the Gate of Divinity and become a god. Now that the DLC breaks over, I get to talk about the lead up to the Age of the Erd Tree. Now, around this time, as well as the DLC break, the Gloam-Eyed Queen emerges. She never actually appears in the game because she got murked by Marika, but she goes on a campaign to kill multiple gods using the Black Flame. Now, apparently it's connected to the Rune of Death in some kind, as she it kind of lost its power after the Rune of Death got sealed away. I will explain what happened in a second. So, both of them wear Empyreans. Empyreans are, candidates to become gods. And so, Marika does end up becoming a god, as I said earlier. Gloam-Eyed Queen's kind of just fucked over. But because she was an Empyrean, Marika got like a dog guy thing, kind of like Blythe, if you know who he is, called Malekith. And she used him to seal away destined death and establish the Golden Order. So now no one dies. Everyone's just immortal now, apparently. I don't know. I don't know how that works. But anyway, this is Malekith. He's not a good boy, I'm just gonna say that. So anyway, she goes on, and she eventually finds this guy. I don't know why, but apparently she found him hot, so she decides to make him the first Elden Lord. Or, the, in quotations, first Elden Lord. But of course, you can tell he's a very violent man. So what happens is, he takes the King of Beasts to be his, regent, to help him suppress his lust for battle, which is extreme to that degree. And so he loses the name Hoarlu, and becomes Godfrey. That guy in the background is the King of the Beasts, or whatever. Now, the Erdtree is kind of growing at this point, because it is the Elden Ring, apparently. But it's in danger because of the giants. Yeah, we're still in the age of the giants, technically. So Marika tells Godfrey, brings him over, tells him, "Hey, you really need to fuck these guys up. They're gonna kill the Erdtree or something." So he takes his army, and they go up to the mountains to attack the giants and kill them, and they actually win. They did end up getting help from the Zamor, which I mentioned earlier. I don't really know much about them, but the trolls were the descendants of the giants, which is a little ironic. Don't ask me why there's holes in their stomachs. I'm not gonna answer, unless you ask, I guess. But, during that, an issue kind of arises. You see, no one really knew this until now, but, their flame, it can't really die. So basically, they're kind of screwed over. They can't put it out. So what Marika does is she spares the last giant and forces him to watch over the fire for eternity. That's right. What was once the curse of an entire race of beings is now the curse of one singular person. He's really sad, honestly, and I kind of feel for him a little bit. Anyway, the age of the giants is now over, blech. And some magic studies get founded or something. I don't know, it doesn't really matter towards, like, the greater story. So anyway, now we enter the age of the Erdtree. Finally, let's go. Now, I know I said sorcery isn't really important, but I kinda need to talk about this because it's important in a second. So, a town gets established by the descendants of the Nox who somehow survived. I don't know how. They survived whatever the hell Estelle was. And some lady named Renala encounters the full moon, not like the actual full moon, but like the celestial entity behind it. It's a little confusing. I don't know. And so that causes her specific sorcery to be founded. So she goes to a school named Raya Lucaria and charms them with this new sorcery. And eventually, the governorship of the school goes to her family. She founds her own, like, kind of mini militia thing, and then she becomes essentially the queen of an entire region called Liurnia. Now, around the same time, a bunch of people get born, or in the Golden Order of the Golden Lineage, which is, the Golden Lineage is Morgott and Godfrey. Or not Morgott and Godfrey, Marika and Godfrey. Oh my gosh, that was almost really bad. Okay. So, Moog and Morgott. Oh my gosh. Moog and Morgott gets sent to the shunning grounds because they're Omen. Nobody likes them. I'll explain what Omen are in a second. And then a secret child apparently happens sometime. I'm assuming this is when he gets sent to the Realm of Shadow to genocide the Hornsent, because they genocided the shamans or something. In his army, he has the Furnace Golems, which I referenced earlier when talking about the God of Fire. Essentially what happens behind that is he, the fell God of Fire, antagonizes them a lot in their lore or something, I guess. They don't really, outright state, or not outright, they outright state that, but not the stories of which this behavior is ever exhibited. Oh, and also Godric is born. I don't like talking about him. He's annoying. So, then I was gonna start talking about the kids individually. Unfortunately, I couldn't really say anything about Godwyn without spoiling some stuff in the game that I'm going to talk about soon. So I'm just gonna leave this here like this. Now we get to Morgott. He's an Omen. As you can see, he's got horns, and he's really tall and kind of hairy. He ends up becoming the king of Leyndell, which is the capital city of essentially just America's whole country thing. He ends up training an elite group of warriors called the Knights Cavalry. Their horses are ghosts, apparently, and he ends up sorry, brain, please, work. He ends up gaining the titles the Veiled Monarch and Morgott the Grace Given, because Omen don't have grace or something. And also he never really actually appears, without some kind of disguise, because people don't like Omens. Okay, so now we go on to his twin... Oh my gosh, voice crack. So now we go on to his twin brother, Mohg. He is also an Omen. He actually is the guy that gets the napalm blood from the Formless Mother. And his whole deal in, the game is he attempts to establish his own dynasty called the Mohgwyn dynasty. I'm not going to talk about him anymore, but now, time to explain what Omens are. They are people reborn without the blessing of grace. They're cursed with horns, nightmares, yada yada yada, shunned by the Golden Order, so on and so forth. Normally, Omen, when they are born, they get killed immediately, because they're omens of, their bad tidings. Unless they are born to royalty. If that is so, then they just get sent to the sewers. And, most of them actually get their horns cut off, which is what kills them. I don't know why they do that. I'm assuming this is because they're connected in some way to the Hornsent. Because, horns. And so I'm assuming that since they're connected, America doesn't like that because the shamans were killed by the Hornsent. So instead of the Hornsent shunning the shamans, the shaman shun the Hornsent. I'm surprised I managed to get that first try. Anyway, now we go on to Godric. He's a dick. He's the youngest of the Golden Order. He's the last one. He's also immensely weak and pathetic. He is by far the ugliest character you run into. And he's a total wimp. He's not even everyone else on this list that I talk about at least stands for something. This man does not. I wouldn't even call him a man. He is a leech, a parasite. Or, no, he would be if he had any kind of agency ever. Now, we go on to a whole conflict between Leyndell and Liurnia. So there are two wars. First one, I'm assuming general or commander or something, Radagon, invades and he manages to take a significant amount of Liurnia for Leyndell. The second one, he tries to push farther, but he ends up stalemating against the forces of the school and the Carrion lineage. Eventually, he ends up recanting his aggression and marries Renala, the lady, queen, person I was talking about earlier. So they smash, and they have 3 kids. Radon, Rykard, and Ronnie. Now here I'm going to have to use the pictures that I had to pull up in other tabs because I ended up slowing down the presentation. So their first kid is Radon. He's the oldest. He's just massive. He's a big guy, and he learns gravity magic in Celia, the town that the descendants of the Nox established, as I mentioned earlier. In defending that town, while he was studying there, he stopped the movement of the stars. Like, I guess in this universe, the Earth doesn't rotate, but the stars do? I don't know. All I know is he just stopped them from moving. They don't move anymore. Unfortunately, that also seals away anyone's fate if it is written in the stars, which is apparently also a thing. I don't know, it's fantasy. So anyway, he looks like this. This is actually not his, like, the biggest he gets. This is him, like, at his prime. He gets bigger. If you can't tell how already massive he is from just this picture. Anyway, of course, they had 3 children, so the middle child, he doesn't really have a lot of lore, which, I mean, curse of the middle childs, I guess. He ends up not doing anything of note until he's, like, an adult, where he goes to a volcanic area called Gelmir. It doesn't matter at all. It has no lore significance, or, like, story significance at all. So I'm just gonna, like, leave it at this. He rediscovered some sorcery that happened, like, was founded there, and he became the lord of, like, that general area. I think he becomes, like, praetor or something? I don't know. And then, he looks like this. I'm sorry if you can't, like, really see it. There's no good pictures of him before, something happens. That I don't want to spoil. Anyway, the third child, and the youngest, is Ronnie. She also ends up being chosen as an Empyrean, which again, as I've stated, candidate for becoming a god. She ends up also getting her own, like, shadow dog person thing. Honestly, he's a lot, like, nicer compared to Malekith. But, she ends up becoming the next in line to the Carrion throne, because it's matriarchal, apparently, because it follows, like, the, it's like, matrilineal or something. Because, I mean, Renala was the one who founded it. I don't know. She gets, do whatever you want. I don't care. Speaking of, Ronnie is brought to Renala's mentor, so that she herself can discover a moon, and it ends up being the Dark Moon, which apparently is really scary. That's the one that I got the, fearing the moons from. So that's those. Oh wait, crap, I forgot the picture of Ronnie, hang on. This is Ronnie. Or, well, no, it's Okay, so basically, sorry, this is gonna be really confusing. So this is technically Ronnie, but also not Ronnie. This is a doll that was made by her in the image of the witch, mentor lady who I referenced earlier. And there's no pictures of her before she did this, but she ended up killing her body, but not her soul, so she wouldn't be an Empyrean anymore and wouldn't be tied to the fingers. So that explains, like, the weird blue skin. So now, we go on to a bunch of stuff that Godfrey did because he's a hyper-masculine man or something. So, he's kind of on a high after the war with the giants, so he kind of goes on a march throughout the lands between. He ends up killing the Storm King, who ruled over, like, a smaller area that I'm not going to, like, talk about at all. And his knights. Then he starts marching to Caelid, which is another area that actually does have some importance. That's where Celia is and a couple other events. Unfortunately, before he gets there, Marika says, fuck you, you don't get grace anymore. Leave. And so, him and his entire army leave the lands between, and Marika ends up remarrying. Now, if you're confused about what grace is, I don't really know. It's like, gold, in this universe, gold is like a more than just like the metal. It's also like an energy-ish thing that accompanies life, and if you don't have, it's given by the Erd Tree and the Elden Ring by extension. And so if you don't have it, you're essentially fucked in the Golden Order. Like, nobody cares about you, everyone hates you. So, that's a bunch of people who just get exiled. And then, so she ends up marrying Radagon, who I referenced earlier, who I was talking about earlier. So he ends up leaving Renala with a broken heart and an amber egg, which is actually a really interesting, kind of correlation to a group that kind of appears within, or after, this whole event, which I will talk about in a second. I don't have it, like, down in my notes, but I know about it. Raya Lucaria, the school, ends up rebelling against the Carians. They imprison Renala in the Grand Library, and they hire mercenaries to hunt down the Carians, but they kind of just instantly get obliterated, which is kind of funny. I guess they didn't want them... I mean, I guess the Carians got scared that their neighbor got burned to the ground, their neighbor's house. I don't know. But essentially, this kind of group that appeared, that did, like, the burning and everything, they're called the Knights of the Cuckoo. Which the, kind of association is the amber egg is essentially like a cuckoo's egg. Yada, I don't know. I think it's a nice little, like, connection to it, because that egg essentially symbolized the downfall of the Carian presence in Liurnia. Now, while all this is going on, a dragon attacks Leyndell. His name is Grandsax. This obviously starts a war. It's not a very long war, apparently, because it gets over pretty quickly. And Godwyn, who I referenced earlier, he's essentially the golden child. He fights so well, he actually befriends one of the dragons, and gets that dragon to occasionally appear as a human, which I think is pretty funny. So that ends up starting the dragon cult. I don't know why. I guess red lightning is cool, so people wanted it? I don't know. And then Marika and Radagon finally have their own children instead of just messing around with their individual, like, stepchildren or whatever. They have the twins, Mikola and Melania. Melania is cursed to house the god of rot within her body for eternity, and Mikola is cursed to be young forever. So they're kind of just... I mean, one is a little worse than the other. But, the guy that sealed the god of rot away, who I guess is still alive, I don't know when he does that. I don't know when he seals away the god of rot. But, he ends up teaching Melania to be, like, really good with the sword, which is shown in the game, because she used to be the hardest boss. Now it's Radahn. Which I think kind of... I feel like they kind of screwed her over a little bit. But, so I actually have a picture of Why is it so small? God damn it. Well, that's supposed to be Melania. That's kind of her. She...
The one boss I can recognize.
What?
The one boss I can recognize. The rot made her smaller.
Well, yeah, she ends up, she loses, like, her legs and an arm. So she's kind of just, like, walking around on prosthetics. Which makes it even funnier when you realize that she was the hardest boss in the game. And she was blind. Yeah, she also gets blinded by the rot. And she still was the hardest boss in the game. Again, hilarious. And here's Mikola. I'll talk about him in a second, and you'll see why. You'll get the reference if you will get the reference, right? If anyone has seen that one stream where I went off on that rant about the lore, you will also know what I will be talking about when I get to it. So anyway, it all kind of falls apart when Ronnie decides to fuck everything up. She gets a couple of people to steal part of Destined Death, steal part of the Rune of Death, and she kind of does some kind of ritual to imbue its power into a set of knives, which they use to kill Godwin's soul, but not his body, and that turns him into the Prince of Death. That is also how Ronnie killed her body but not her soul, because in order to do that you need to kind of like carve like a curse mark or something into their flesh, and they only did like half of the curse mark for each of them. So one had the curse mark of like physical death and the other had the curse mark of soul death. The issue with soul death is the fact that you can't be reborn, regardless of whether you're put at the roots of the Erd Tree or not, because that's whole, like, burial shit I'm not gonna get into. And his death actually causes, like, a bunch of things to happen regarding death. Like, I'm going to assume this is when, those who live in death, like, start kind of rising. Essentially, they're just skeletons. Deathroot appears around this time as well. I don't know why. I don't know what, like, significance it plays outside of Malekith. But, that makes Marika immensely sad. So she decides to shatter the the Elden Ring. And so that makes her, that pisses off the Greater Will. The Greater Will imprisons her in the Erd Tree, kind of like crucifies her. And the shards of the Elden Ring kind of scatter everywhere, and that causes a series of fights, of battles, of wars, essentially. So, in chronological order, Melania beats up Godric, who ran to the Storm King's general area. Then Morgott battles Radahn, Radahn being the guy Radahn was trying to get into Leyndell to the Erd Tree for some reason. Then Mohg kidnaps Mikola from his, like, unique tree thing, because he was trying to grow one, while Melania's gone beating the shit out of Godric. Then Melania battles Radahn in Caelid, destroying it by blooming with, like, the power of rot or whatever. This drives Radahn to madness, by the way, does not kill him, and she ends up getting carried back to Mikola's special little tree thing. Then, Rykard feeds himself and his, piece of the Elden Ring to a god-devouring serpent. That's why I couldn't find any good pictures of him. He is a snake now. Then, Morgott tries to go up to Volcano Manor because of the whole thing with the god-devouring serpent. Unfortunately, they fail. You want to know why? Because all of the Volcano Manor's troops are, like, diseased, squalid, like, actively rotting people. They are just the worst of the worst, either like physically or like morally horrendous people. And then to put more shit in the pile, the Tarnished return. They try to go take Lane-Del as well, twice, I think, and Morgott beats them back single-handedly. Because they were going to destroy Lane-Del, I assume. Or something. I don't know. I don't understand the motives of the Tarnished. The Tarnished being the people who were stripped of grace and were a part of, what's-his-name's army? Godric's army. No, Godfrey's army. Not Godric. Godric's a pussy. Anyway, now we finally get to the events of the game. That's right, this entire thing happened before the game happened. Now, you do whatever you do, but in order to get to the DLC, you track down Mohg to his, little Gunnar cave where he's feeding blood to Miquella in an attempt to get Miquella to become his consort so he can establish his little Mohgwyn dynasty. Unfortunately, or actually no. Wait, is this the rant part? Oh shit, it is the rant part! Okay! Now I finally get to do that. Alright, time to rant about Femboy God Drama Queen. That's right, I'm doing this again. Third time. Alright, so, it turns out the only reason why Mohg did the kidnapping and the blood stuff, yada yada yada, is because he was charmed by Miquella, who is never stated to have this power in the base game, but kind of gains it in the DLC. He has the ability to charm people. He makes anyone like him. So basically what he did was he charmed Mohg to take him from the Halig tree, causing the Halig tree, his Miquella's special little tree, to not grow into an Erd tree. And he makes Mohg feed him the blood so he can access the Realm of Shadow. You want to know why? I'll tell you why soon. Anyway, so he does that. Mohg eventually feeds him enough blood, but that's when you kill Mohg. So what he does is, he takes Mohg's corpse, brings it up to the Gate of Divinity, which I referenced earlier, which is in the Land of Shadow. And he uses Mohg's corpse to resurrect Radahn. Radahn's soul specifically, because you can get to this point without killing Radahn. So, resurrects Radahn, who may not even be consenting in this, because in the cutscene that talks about how Miquella promised Radahn to be his consort or some shit, Radahn wasn't there. So we can assume either Radahn was unwilling in this, or alternatively Radahn was charmed by Miquella. There is always the possibility that Radahn was just into femboys or something. I don't know. I doubt that happened. Anyway, but that also insinuates that Miquella used and then proceeded to throw away his sister, Malenia, because she was the one who technically killed Radahn by driving him to madness. Which was all a part of his plan, because it is stated in his, special, DLC fight armor, that you can get, by the way, that Malenia told Radahn that Miquella was waiting for him. So, the entire, events of the Shattering weren't exactly Miquella's plan, but he most likely played some kind of role in orchestrating the different events and, the fights. So yeah, he does all this, and somehow people still like him. I would assume that they got charmed or something, I don't know. But they can't technically, because all of his charms break when he casts aside his little piece of the Elden Ring before he goes up to become Femboy God. And not only that, but he casts away my favorite character who used to be a part of him, Saint Trina. Saint Trina, essentially, her whole thing is sleep. Eternally. Sleep. Forever. It's like death, but no, it's gentle. It's a fucking, I don't know. Play the game. It's a good game. I love the DLC. But what's horrendous is he thinks he has his head so far up his own ass that he believes that he can save everyone and make sure everyone is like this pure and never does any wrong and like all wrongs are righted now. He couldn't even deal with the fact that he had Saint Trina a part of him. He couldn't, like, work through that. How could he even believe? How dare he believe that he could forgive everyone, get everyone to forgive each other, and live all happy staying around a campfire or some shit. Because, like, how do you get there? You have to be so full of yourself. Anyway, that's kind of what happens in the game. There's the lore. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to, like, let me know. And, yeah, so that's all I have.
Same thing! The same thing!
I was wondering...
It's angled the exact same way!
I was wondering if you'd catch that, so... I actually went to the slideshow I got this from.
Oh my god.
And there's actually another reference to that one slideshow earlier. The tombstone?
R.I.P. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Okay, so do you have any questions?
Kind of, but I forgot what they were.
Fuck. Shit. I wasn't expecting to go that long. I thought you would interrupt me if you had anything to say. Or, like, had any questions.
Scroll back to, like, 30.
30? Okay.
As someone who has never seen Femboy God, is he cute? What?
This one. This guy right here. Oh, also he has, 4 arms, apparently. I don't know.
Oh.
Why the hell not? So, around 30?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, where at?
Back a little bit further, I think.
Kinky Whip. Finger Mom.
Just go to the beginning, and we'll start slowly going through them.
Okay. So there's this.
Number of arms.
This was supposed. Okay. This was supposed to be. What is even showing? Because what's showing on my screen and what's showing in the recording is immensely different. Anyway, I'm just gonna keep going.
A guy.
Okay, so that was supposed to be like a looping video of like a guy punching the screen and it breaking. But it never played. So he's kind of just like sitting there like winding up to punch.
Alright, next slide.
Okay.
We go a little bit. Okay. Okay. You, like, slowly go through them.
Okay. I don't know, it's kind of glitching out around here for some reason. Okay, so God of Rod.
Okay.
Why did we go backwards? Just tell me when to stop.
Okay. Oh wait, hang on, stop. Go to that last picture.
Mm-hmm.
What is and isn't this dude?
What do you mean?
Like go to the picture.
Oh, am I not? Hang on. I'm sorry, what's showing on my screen and what's showing on the recording and what I'm assuming is showing on the thing is different for each one. I'm just gonna open the picture in another slide. Or not another slide, in another
Okay.
It's gonna
Like, Didn't you say originally when they were combined, they were incredibly weak?
Oh yeah, that was like a joke, because I don't know, this never stated what actually shatters the one grate. So I'm just gonna, so I was like,
Ah,
I don't know. But apparently it was weak, apparently it was weak enough to get shattered by something.
interesting.
I'd love to
So, like,
assume that it was like the guy earlier who's just frozen in time, forever waiting to punch the glass to shatter.
so what is it?
What is
Like,
what?
it's the great one or whatever, but like, what is it?
The one great, it's literally okay, so the one great is literally everything. This picture is the ending you get when you choose to follow the path of frenzied flame.
Okay. So, like, what is it doing?
So okay.
Is it inhaling everything? Is it
No, it's
burning it?
actually burning. It's
Ah,
going, so technically it's going from the tree here up and then burning up here and then kind of spreading out its madness and insanity.
interesting.
Please subscribe, because if we get monetized, I will recreate the entirety of the Eggman copy pasta from memory and then vocode it to the story of Undertale.